This episode is about minutes 26 through 30 of The Rise of Skywalker with returning guest Conor Power. Hello there, and welcome to Star Wars Music Minute, where we celebrate the music and sound of Star Wars 5 cinematic minutes at a time. I'm Xanthe Tan, feel free to call me Xanthe, and today is all about minutes 26 through 30 of Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. We are still on Pasaana in this excerpt of the film. Mostly, we actually start with the First Order officer identifying the origin of Rey's necklace that Kylo Ren swiped from her through the abyss. And Rey, Finn, Poe, and the gang meet Lando Calrissian, who tells them a little bit more about Wayfinders and Ochi of Bestoon. And finally, they encounter flying stormtroopers, and there's kind of a whole thing. And it sort of ends with Rey spotting Ochi's ship and saying that she recognizes it. Anyway, today I'm excited to have back to the show Conor Power, who is the last time I introduced him as a film music PhD researcher. Now I believe he is a PhD candidate, as he has submitted his dissertation/thesis. So congratulations on finishing writing that, Conor.
Thank you.
Glad to have you back from Ireland.
Very, very happy to be back. It was weird hearing you do the intro and being like, oh, I'm on the other side of it now. I'm in it. I'm not just listening. It's a weird experience seeing the intro. And actually, thanks for giving the rundown of the context before, because I've obviously watched these 5 minutes a few times, but then I forgot where we immediately came from before. So that was much of an education to me as to anyone listening or watching.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, it's like the 5 minutes at a time is such a... It can feel kind of random sometimes, like to just be thrown into 5 minutes without context, because it's not like we're going scene by scene, which might make more narrative sense. It's just like, here's isolated 5 minutes. But yeah, we're still on Pasaana, and that's after the Aki celebration of the ancestors, Festival of the Ancestors. So that whole thing.
It's a nice round 5 minutes though, because we have a whole chase sequence that we get to see, and it kind of stops at a natural point with explosions and stuff like that. So it kind of
totally
at the end of it rounded off quite nicely. I remember last time when we did Empire Strikes Back, we got the second half of Battle of Hoth, which was amazing, but that's like a 10-minute sequence that you want to unpack in so much detail, and we got like cut off just as they're about to leave Hoth. I remember. Yeah,
the Battle of Hoth spanned like 3 episodes of this show. It was like,
oh my God.
It was so much. Also,
there's so much to talk about in those 3 episodes.
Oh, I know.
The
Battle of Hoth is just a monstrous thing. So I was actually I was glad that it wasn't just all on like one episode. But yeah.
Your guest would have had a lot of homework to do if they had to cover that
so
whole
much
thing.
Homework.
Although I think the person who went before me last time was Dominic Sewell, so he probably
he did. Yeah, he did a lot of homework. That's true.
Yeah, he could have done it all.
So speaking of last time you were on, we were talking about the Battle of Hoth, and listeners, that was episode 7 of The Empire Strikes Back, and it was called Musical Referee. And we had talked last time about musical scorekeeping and how sort of, like through the music we were kind of hearing, like the Empire has a one-up. Now the Rebels are having like a point, and we kind of, we're keeping score and whatnot. And I think it's, in this set of minutes, I kind of also feel a sense of musical scorekeeping. Like I feel in a different way a little bit. But what do you think?
I would like to hear you explain that a bit more, because I know last time I was giving Empire a point or Rebels a point based on, we hear Rebel fanfare, 1 point to the Rebels. We hear Imperial March, 1 point to the Empire, but I don't know if we're hearing as many motifs in the sequence. Do you?
No, that's
we're
true.
Hearing a few.
That's true. I don't think. What do you mean by motifs?
Like, I just know when I hear the Rebel fanfare,
Got
heroic
it.
stuff happening. And when Imperial March, bad stuff happening. But we're not hearing a clear musical indication of who is gaining the upper hand. Maybe we are, but maybe the sound is a bit dense at times to even pick that out.
Well, I think you're right, but I think it also depends on how big of a category we are letting in. Because I was thinking about this just this morning. I was like, I should remember to say this at some point, where it's like there are motifs, like things that are known to be a like musical theme or like actual musical material or perhaps a melody or something that is recurring. But then taking a step back, there are lots of things, there are lots of stylistic things, there are lots of perhaps not necessarily motifs, but patterns in the way that certain elements are portrayed. That is not, maybe it kind of is more along the lines of Frank Lehman's associative progressions, or like even the feminine romantic cliche type of stuff that you've written about. There are certain things that aren't necessarily a motif, but to me are still like, oh, that's a rebel type of thing. Or like,
I get what you
that's
mean.
an evil type of thing. So it's not quite as like, okay, there's a rebel theme, there's an empire theme. But there still is the music is still telling us who is winning this battle right now.
I get you. Yeah. I wrote about this kind of thing in my thesis a little bit, like a style topic, something that kind of has a specific kind of meaning, like a march or like a waltz or a pastoral, where it's a set of musical features, be it rhythmic, harmonic, melodic, timbre or whatever, and in combination they have this effect of creating some type of form, or especially in the medium of film, obviously you get certain fanfare-like topics being relied on often to connote heroism in some form, if it's like major, or if you're getting some more dirge-like funereal, dark martial things that could connote evil a little bit more. So I think, is that kind of what you're getting at a little bit?
Totally.
Kind of we have these topical ideas that have good guy, bad guy associations, but they don't necessarily have to be themes or motifs per se. But obviously they influence themes and motifs anyway.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see it as like a rectangle is a square, but not, a square is a rectangle, but not all rectangles are squares. So the rectangle would be like the topic, the style topic, and the square would be like, and if it fits all these other things, then it's the motif.
I get you. Yes. Making me think really hard there about, do I remember my shapes from primary school? But yeah, I get exactly what you mean. Or like a circle within a bigger circle. Like a Venn diagram type thing. Yeah.
Yeah. If like it's a mammal, but not necessarily a human.
don't change.
Let's pick
the
one.
Frame of reference.
Let's pick one from each school subject.
Oh no, please. It's too late in the day here for me to be thinking. It's 6:30 here. You're more awake than I am.
I like that. So style topic is is what you call it in your thesis.
Yeah, or if I wanted to be fancy, I use the word topos instead, TOPOS, which I actually don't know what the origin of that is. I don't know. I should.
I'm
that's
sure it's
probably
Greek.
Something I should have included in my introduction. Oops.
No regrets now. No regrets.
No, it's submitted. I have to deal with that. Oh God. Okay, I'm gonna spiral now if I start thinking about stuff like that. But yeah, topos is the fancy word, but I use style topic, or even idiom, a musical idiom.
Yeah. Cool.
I've used them a bit interchangeably, much to my supervisor's dismay sometimes.
It's kind of like, if Frank Lehman's update to his catalog has more leitmotivic particles, free-floating leitmotivic particles.
Yes.
And so I think a lot of us are thinking of similar things, because we're as we talk about film music, we're running into kind of roadblocks where it's like, we need more language to describe the similarities here, other than just that it's the same motif, because sometimes it's not the same motif, but there still are similarities. So I'm glad that you've written about it, and people like Frank have.
It's a problem with music more generally, though. I feel like sometimes we don't have the terminology to explain some things. I was just talking to one of my piano students the other day, and they just played a dissonant chord, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds crunchy." And like they just looked at me, it's like, "How is music crunchy?" It's like, I don't know, but it is. Because I don't know. We're just used to using those words. I feel like if we talk about something like a particular dissonance having some adjective that doesn't exactly apply to sound. We're just used to
very
sound
interesting
from a
that
musical
you bring that
field.
up. That's very interesting, because I wonder how your student would have described it, because crunchy is like, I wonder if that's a learned sensation that we learn to, just because in other cultures they might not hear the same they might not hear the same interval as crunchy.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's definitely a learned learned terminology, learned behavior. I should have let
crunchy.
her.
Like
Yeah.
crunchy. But someone might not hear that as crunchy, or it might be very context dependent, or it might depend on what came before it as well. Oh, this is also, yeah, this stuff.
We're spiraling and the minutes haven't even begun yet. But I was going to say I should have let her come up with her own word and seen what her interpretation of that was, unencumbered by the burden of music school and terminology. Like, what's her natural approach to that word?
You should test all of your students. Just be like, I'm going to play you something. Now you describe
I
it.
should.
And have them all.
What does this chord taste like?
Yeah.
What does it smell like? Just synesthesia.
What does it
test
feel
them
like in
all.
your mouth? Yeah, totally. Well, anyway, let's get into listening to the minutes.
Yes, please.
Yes. Okay.
It comes from the Midian system. Pisana, Forbidden Valley.
Prepare my ship. Alert the local troops. Send a division.
Yes, Supreme Leader.
That guy cracks me up.
Freeze!
So good.
I've located the resistance fugitives. All units.
Okay. Let's stop right
He's a
there.
good
for
voice. You talk about, what's his name? Pride? Is that
Pride?
his name?
Yes.
Richard E. Grant.
Supreme
He's such a
leader.
good voice.
He really
Such
does.
an authority. Oh, I can't say that word. No.
Authoritative?
That's the.
Okay.
Yeah, that one. He's such that voice. What he sounded even more menacing. Was there a big timpani hit? Was it after he spoke or just before it spoke? I actually didn't pick up on that when I was listening
Let's see here.
previously, but I feel like it just
Supreme Leader.
I think it may have
just
been
at the start of his sentence, just at
Yeah,
the start of spoke.
to be like, listen, everyone.
Send a division.
Yeah,
Yes, Supreme Leader.
The French horns stand out to me.
oh, I just heard that. I was either timpani or bass drum before, just two notes, boom, boom, and it's like it really drew me into what he was saying. What, and you, the French horns stand out more to you.
Well, I famously have a bad ear for low-pitched drums. Let's try again, because now I'm concerned about my hearing.
I think it's just as he starts to
Send a
speak.
division.
Yes, Supreme Leader.
Okay. I know what you mean. It kind of,
Yeah.
it's underneath. It's not in the open.
No, it's kind of my ear was
Okay.
just drawn to that. And actually, I wanna pick up on that later on because I feel like during the speeder chase sequence at the end, I feel like if we had a bit more variety in the extremes of what we're hearing, it might make the music a little bit more.
Oh, yes. Let's definitely talk
Audible.
about that.
Pick
The
back
music,
up on that.
the music that is playing, the kind of ostinato thing that's playing at the beginning of this, which is like,
It comes from the Midian system. Pisana, Forbidden Valley.
Prepare my ship. Alert the local troops.
it's like. Anyway, it's kind of like outlining Kylo Ren's theme. Kind of.
Oh,
Or
that
it's
is,
like
I get
touching
that.
on those. It's like Kylo Ren, the remix.
Yeah, it draws out those intervals because it starts off quite narrow and then it expands, and then I feel like you hear that. Is it a minor third or something? A little bit. It stands out more clearly.
Yeah, I mean, it's this thing that always stands out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up on that. Yeah, it's just, but that's just again that could be if we're talking about that idea of little microscopic musical things which symbolize something that particular intervallic quality has that
Yeah.
menacing tone that obviously Williams uses in the ostinato for evil people and
Yep.
in his motif itself.
Yep, and we don't always have to hear
vocabulary.
it in the same rhythm or the same whatever. And there are more parts of that later in these minutes where it's like we're hearing the slow version of it in one instrument, but then we're hearing an ostinato that's kind of outlining the same notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's listen to that
So cool.
again.
It comes from the Midian system. Pisana, Forbidden Valley.
Prepare my ship. Alert the Send a division.
Yes, Supreme Leader.
Yeah. Now I definitely hear the timpani.
Freeze! Hold it right there. I've located the.
It's so John Williams, that part.
Literally my first note, classic Williams flute woodwind run. You beat me to it. It just sounds so Williamsy. I don't even know. It's not a scale exactly, is it? It's something or is it more broken up.
I mean, it's octatonic, so it is very Williamsy.
That's why I didn't notate it myself.
You know what?
Yeah.
It reminds me very heavily of The Last Jedi, the Crate, Battle of Crate. I mean, it reminds me of so much in Williams. So it comes up like everywhere. It comes up like everywhere. But definitely in the Battle of Crate, there's like.
Oh, yes.
But now in my mind, I'm also like.
The ostinato.
Yeah, the whirling octatonicism is related.
Yes.
There's so much, and listeners, octatonic scale is a scale that alternates half steps and whole steps. So here it would be like, this is a half step, this is a whole step, this is a half step. And they're very useful in music, in film music, because they're symmetrical and they're so flexible because of that. Because if you're diatonic would mean in the key you're in, it would, if a scale were diatonic, that would mean that in the quote unquote key you were in, you would be playing all of the naturals, sharps, flats that are native to that key, which would kind of lock you in, perhaps, or whatever. But yeah, octatonic scales are just great for flexibly moving you through passages without being encumbered by a key.
Yeah, and they're probably not as, again, I'm just thinking back to that idea of emotions that things have. They're probably not as tethered to a specific good, evil, like major, happy, minor, sad binary. They kind of fit somewhere in the middle of that. So maybe they're more flexible because they can be used in like various situations without having a direct or obvious like emotional meaning.
And then on a completely different note, not just talking about like the mood and the modes and the mood, just like space-wise, a diatonic scale will take up more. You will have to cover, because a diatonic scale you'll only have access to a certain number of notes per scale. It's like a stairwell that has 8 steps. Whereas a chromatic scale, which is you go through every half step, would be a stairwell that has 12 steps. A octatonic scale would be somewhere in between that. Okay, the first stairwell has just stay with me. First stairwell has 7 steps. The second stairwell has 12 steps. The third one has 8 because octatonic. So so that's useful when you are trying to do fast passages on an instrument. You're working with the instrument's range and you want to have a lot of notes, but you can't max out how high or low the instrument can go. So it is often in your best interest compositionally to use a scale or to use notes that can fit within an instrument's limited range, but have more notes so they can go fast. Does that make sense? It's like...
No, it's a really good point, because I think, instead of using a chromatic scale, again, within the space of a beat or something like that, is, first of all, easier to play an octatonic scale because there's less notes that you have to squeeze into a beat, but also you can extend the same amount of range while still getting that sense of momentum either up or down, depending on where you're going. So it's handy for the player as well, and still generates a similar effect. Totally.
And something that would be on the other extreme would be like a whole tone scale, which would be like, because you have to have a whole step in between them, then you would have to have like a stairwell with, why did I start this analogy?
6.
Yeah, with 6 steps. So you would have to be taking really big leaps. Much more fatiguing. Yeah,
you're walking up your 12-step stairs, but skipping a step every time. Big steps. Yeah. So anyway, just several ways to look at the octatonic scale. Yeah. So the was it a flute? Was it a piccolo run that was octatonic? Or is that...
I believe it may have been doubled. I wrote woodwinds, which...
Sick.
Freeze! Hold it right there! I've located the resistance fugitives. All units...
I feel like I'm also hearing piccolo, and I might be hearing xylophone, but I'm not sure.
Oh, I didn't pick up on the xylophone.
I'm not 100%
I'm useless at hearing doublings, though. I'm so bad at picking them out sometimes. My ear just gravitates towards whatever I hear first, and then that's it. There's nothing else there.
It's also hard when there's like the dialogue and sound effects track.
This is true.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
a classic bit of Mickey Mousing though as well, wasn't it? Doesn't the woodwind run like coincide with? Is it an arrow that's fired or something? It's not quite like.
I'm gonna guess it wasn't an arrow. I'm
But
gonna
it didn't
guess
look like a. It didn't look like a blaster.
No,
like
you're right.
conventional laser. And
You're
it has
right. I've
some
just
kind of-
never heard of arrows in Star Wars, but you might be. I'm not like a weapons person. I'm not the expert at this kind of thing. But
sure
you're
the
right. It
Ewoks
is.
had some arrows.
No, you're right. Okay, you're also crap.
Oh yeah, they were taking out stormtroopers with arrows.
No,
and
you're
rocks.
right. What am I talking about? I don't know. For some reason, I assumed it was like a dart, like a stun. Maybe that is called an arrow. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like
Weapons
he had a
people-
crossbow thing in his hand. I don't know if a picture up, but I feel like it was a Chewie style crossbow,
You know what? I feel like-
bowcaster device. I don't know.
I'm gonna go
But
with
Mickey
your
Mousing.
answer. But yes, it was
But
Mickey Mousing.
anyway.
Yes, because
Imitating the action.
correct. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue playing.
Follow me.
Doo-doo-doo. Those suspensions. Doo-doo-doo. The notes.
Kind of warm though as well at the same time. It felt like a bit of a hug.
Hmm.
I haven't notated anything specifically. All I've written down is like my feelings regarding like
Yeah, so
all
you
of
said
these
warm.
qualities. But yeah, warm and optimistic and kind of a little bit hopeful in those suspensions.
I agree with you. Yeah. Yep. 1, 2, 4. This is a major second. Perfect fourth. Minor third. Ah. It just sounds very optimistic. Yeah.
That's the start of a song that you're just playing, and I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is either,
Congratulations.
but also when I played that, I was like, it's the start of a song. But I also have no idea what the song is.
Is it like Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head? Like, you know that song?
Oh.
Something like that?
Raindrops keep falling on my head.
Or just like the
Maybe.
intro. I feel like it starts something like that.
No, I you know what? That sounds right.
I've pulled that out of nowhere, but
And
it
now
does
I'm
feel
like-
correct.
Listeners,
I think it is.
please validate or denounce anything that we're saying, because now
You
I'm-
have permission to leave this video for 5 seconds to go check out the start of that song to see if I'm right, but then you must come back and listen.
just musical memories pop in my head, and I don't have any responsibility for them. So,
Oh,
sounds like you do. Great.
absolutely.
So the hopeful music, which is what I wrote in my notes, hopeful, with lots of suspensions, obviously is coinciding with this mysterious masked figure showing up, who is going to kind of help them out. We don't know that yet that it's Lando, but it is Lando. It is, but the music is telling us it's probably someone benevolent or someone.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. It's going to be a way out, or it's going to be some temporary relief. And there is a low level of like buzzing in the background when that comes up, and the buzzing persists throughout the thing that comes before it with the Mickey Mousing, and it kind of is like the through line or something. Do you know what I'm talking about? I'll play it again.
Please do. Yeah, I actually don't know. Like buzzing in
Musical buzzing.
strings? Okay.
Like it's like like there's some percussion. I'll play it.
Okay.
Freeze! Hold it right there.
Yeah, strings.
I've located the resistance fugitives. All units report.
Yeah, there's like a tremolo.
Follow me.
Yeah, did you hear that?
Yeah, I've also picked up a little bit of brass. They're brass in it as well at the same time, like a muted.
Yeah. Yeah, it does sound like.
Maybe.
Yeah, that would be an appropriate buzzing thing to add.
Yeah, I just felt that brassy vibration. Yeah, and
Yeah.
good point. It's carrying through these two separate musical. I don't know. Williams probably had to hit a certain number of markers for the scene. He definitely had to hit the arrow flying and hit Lando speaking. So
Yeah,
having two gestures tied together with something else, like
totally.
underneath them, just gives it that sense of unity. which is
Totally.
what
And it's also just
tricky
like
thing about film music.
it's like the nervousness of like, okay, what's happening right now?
Yeah,
It's the bed
bit
of nerves.
anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause we don't know. As you said, we don't know it's Lando, so it's like that mask slightly masking the optimism a little bit. Which,
Yeah.
when I mentioned Lando there, the voice is also really cool. Whatever I don't know, however they've manipulated his voice. I just like
Yeah.
that sound. It has that, because it doesn't. I don't think it sounds like Billy D. Williams in any way at all. Speaking.
neither.
It probably is, but like it, just the manipulation of it's really cool. Actually, that's one thing they do really well in the sequels, don't they? Even like Phasma's and Kylo Ren, like when they speak with the mask on, I'm sure there's like so many different variations they have to go through of figuring out what they want the exact timbre of someone's masked voice to be. Because obviously they can't control what Adam Driver's voice sounds like or what Billy D. Williams' voice sounds like, but they have so much more freedom to manipulate that stuff.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that is like a very pointed thing that, and I'm thinking also like Enfys Nest in Solo.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I feel like every time, like here, I wasn't like, oh, that sounds like Billy D. That sounds like Lando. I bet it's Lando. I was like, oh, who is this?
Yeah.
So it fooled me.
It did. I think it did me too at the time. I don't remember thinking, oh, this is Lando showing up when I saw it the first time.
Yeah.
Don't think so.
The resistance fugitives. All units report.
Follow me. Hurry.
I would like confirmation on
strings.
whether that's Billy D. Williams.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been manipulated to such. Oh, actually, that's a great point because the amount of editing that went on this movie, and obviously someone with a mask, it's so easy to ADR their voice and change them if you want to
Yeah.
like manipulate the scene because you don't have to match their mouth moving. You don't have to cut around them because you can't see anything moving at all. So it could easily been someone else.
Yeah. Like maybe not on purpose, but maybe maybe Billy D already finished his days and maybe they just had to quickly loop something in late. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not.
I'm thinking back now to other masked heroes. I wonder, did Carrie Fisher do, is it Bosch at the start of
Oh, Boosh.
Boosh? Yeah, when she's saving
Maybe it is-
Han from the carbonite.
I'm sure
Oh no,
she
they're
did.
not. She's not speaking English.
You're
It's
right.
not some random alien gibberish.
Yeah.
Really croaky frog-like sound. I doubt that was Carrie Fisher.
Anyway, the music that we're hearing
research.
here reminds me of March Onboard Spacecraft. Are you familiar with that?
Is that a cue from the film?
No, it's an incidental motif in Frank's catalog. That's from The Force Awakens, actually.
Oh no way! I don't know that one.
Yeah, it reminds me of that, but like, well, first let's point out what I'm even talking about. Okay, so
Yeah.
I put this, yeah, okay, let's hear that.
Follow me.
This. Do, 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 do. It's like a militaristic sounding resistance-y thing. And I'm just going to play the first time we hear March Onboard Spacecraft. It's an incidental motif. It first shows up in The Force Awakens. It's also in The Last Jedi a little bit. We hear it when Finn and Poe are escaping the First Order in The Force Awakens. So I'm just going to play that clip a little bit.
Okay.
Ren wants the prisoner.
Turn here.
That. It's like.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is very similar.
Again, it's like they're not the motifs don't match up, but clearly there's a similarity. There's something there.
The rhythmic thing at the start, though, it's like the bum and then the little delay coming in. Is it off the beat? I don't know. It's just that little rest that kind of it catches your attention and then it keeps on going again. I think they both have that.
Right. So that's one of the
Effect.
features is the boom, 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 boom. It's the march aspect of it.
Yeah.
They're both kind of low pitch. They're kind of low strings. I mean, I think it's played on violin, but it's in the very low register of the violin. So it's like,
G-string, yeah.
it's like strings playing low. It's kind of within the same like few notes. And then this one's. it's in a
small
small
range.
range. Yeah, exactly. And then, so I kind of, going through these minutes, I kept being like, oh, something reminds me of something. Things are reminding me of so many things. What are they? And so I posted this in my Discord server, and it's one of the things, Ender Smith, who's a guest of the show in my Discord server, also said that this part sounds like, reminded him of Raiders of the Lost Ark truck chase moment. So I will just play a little bit of that. So we can, actually, I'm going to go into it a little bit.
truck for Cairo.
Truck? What truck?
And I don't know if that's exactly, I don't know if I found the exact correct part, but like that is not the same thing, but there is still something that sounds like I can see why it reminds him of that. There is kind of like that low, what's it called? Like the hits.
Yeah, it's really strong hit in the downbeat, kind of, isn't it? And then it just, is it even down? It probably is the downbeat, yeah. And then just progresses like neatly afterwards. I feel like there's that marked beginning and then that martial quality.
Yeah.
After
yeah.
that definitely ties them all together. I'm so happy you brought that up. I literally saw Raiders with the live orchestra last night, so it's very
oh my gosh.
primed to
Cool.
my memory. That's so strange. But yeah, it's definitely
really
similar energy, and obviously that motif at the start of that figure at the start of the truck chase kind of continues throughout the queue a good bit. So it's kind of, again, that martial quality keeps the momentum of it going, which is the same as these. What did you call it? Walking on spaceships? What was the name? Of it?
March on board spacecraft.
March on board spacecraft. But they're both designed then to kind of nearly match momentum of characters moving in some way, maybe to kind of keep up with them in some
Yeah.
fashion.
And the thing is, like, in the truck chase, like the rhythm in the Indiana Jones example is more like, it's not quite marchy. It's like boom. I don't know. I can't think of the word right now. It's like not syncopated necessarily. It's like more topsy-turvy. It still is regular, but it's more, whatever the word is. It's not quite as like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
It's something else. But that kind of also makes sense
you.
for like a truck ride where there's like bumps.
Yes, I agree completely. It's not quite as even. There is a little bit of a lilt or a jilt or a something,
exactly.
something off about it. Yeah, and it fits that environment really, really well. And the kind of the stress and anxiety of Indy chasing the Nazis versus the relative calm of people just walking from one place to the other. So matching it in a different vibe.
Yeah.
It's a cool figure though.
Definitely.
Good spot.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now we'll continue listening.
Leia sent me a transmission. We need it to buy it.
Okay. How'd you find us?
Okay.
Wookiees stand out in the crowd.
Okay.
Can I just say, before you say anything, sorry, that guy at the front, what does he say? Does he just say, okay? That just made me laugh a lot that time. just the vocal performance there really stuck out to me, and I really like it. Whoever that guy was. I hope he got paid well that day, because that's just amazing. It's the best line in the scene. Okay.
Okay. They really, another sequel trilogy thing I feel like is just those random alien one-liners.
Oh.
Yeah.
So good. So good. Maybe even better than some of the characters' one-liners, because I feel like Lando's first line being Wookiees stand out in the crowd. I don't think that's a great line. I don't know. Sorry.
I don't think it's a great line either. No, I don't think it's a great line.
Like this welcome back to it, like an iconic character, as Wookiees stand out in the crowd. It's like, give him something a bit better to do.
Yeah.
But I did like the majestic harp scale, like revealing him in a very like grandiose fashion. I quite enjoyed that. Made the entrance a bit more impactful.
Yeah, I feel like we repeated or we hearkened back to the suspensions that were giving us a tease of Lando, and then it kind of just went further. Like, actually, let's hear the suspensions building up again.
We need a Tobiah.
Okay. How'd you find us?
Major second again.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the harp, the flourish.
Leia sent me a transmission. We need a Tobiah.
Okay. How'd you find us?
Wookiees stand out in the crowd.
Same intervals, really. Or similar. See, we have a major fourth, major fifth. I think before it was
1, 2, 4.
1, 2, 4. Now it's 1, 2, 5. I'm normalizing for
trend.
key just to keep it in the same key. It was different notes technically, but yeah. So
Similar notes, and it's the same. You called it hopeful before. I've written down optimistic this time, so definitely that is the quality that he's going for by that suspension.
yeah, I would agree. So this is when Lando takes his helmet off. I wrote harp gliss and saccharine string music.
Good to see.
Super diatonic and everything.
Very.
Not bad, just uncomplicatedly nice.
Yeah, it's very earnest.
It is earnest.
It's
Yeah,
a
it
bit
is.
too earnest.
A bit.
Yeah.
A bit.
They haven't won the war yet. Like, calm down, Williams. we don't need to be this happy right now.
Yeah.
Wookiees stand out in the crowd. It's good to see you too, old buddy.
This is General Lando Calrissian.
We know who he is, 3PO.
It is an honor, General.
General Calrissian, we're looking for Exegol.
Of course you are.
Now, luckily, it is very short-lived. It's a short-lived reunion little pocket of nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
In so many ways, in just like all of the dialogue. So I have gone on the record that I actually like this movie, but there are many details in the movie that I don't like. And this is one of them. This is a kind of a cringe scene for me. This is a cringe reunion for me. I don't mind that it's happening. I just think it's done. It's just, okay, this part's not for me or something.
I think it's just the dialogue. That's what when I was watching this scene and just thinking, like, what they're saying, all the dialogue is just fine, and it's not very imaginative. It's like very obvious what they'd say, and I don't know, I just feel like the exchanges don't feel very genuine at all. I have a theory about why this is your favorite movie, by the way.
No, it's not my favorite movie.
Sorry, not why you like it so much. Excuse me. My theory is that it's okay, it mightn't be your favorite movie. It is 3PO's best movie, though. Without a shadow of a doubt. This is his moment, and I know you love 3PO, so that's why I think you like this movie so much, because 3PO just has so many good bits.
That probably contributed greatly. Probably, yeah. Probably endeared me. Yeah.
Is the music we're getting, by the way, is it the strings? Is it? I was having a flick through Frank's themes for Rise of Skywalker. It's not the heroic theme, is it? Like the broad version? Because I know he has
I don't think
two
so.
heroic themes. It just reminded me a little bit, just that optimistic, stringy stuff. I wasn't sure, but it gave me the broad version.
Yeah.
Give me a vague idea of that. Maybe it's just the intervals or something like that. Just something stupid.
Yeah, I know what you
Probably
mean.
wasn't.
Yeah, no, I don't. Maybe. Okay, wait. Let's pull it up. Let's. I'm gonna put screenshots of it on screen. So let's. And if it's not, then we'll be able to point out with some concrete things in front of us why it's not. So you're saying the heroic theme. Okay.
isn't it the heroics broad? Is it used too? I know the more excitable version from the Speeder Chase Cube.
Oh wait, no, it is heroics broad. What am I talking about? No, you're completely right. Thank you for.
Oh, you're gaslighting me. Just gaslighting your guests live on the show.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, you're. Yeah, no.
Oh,
I have gaslit Connor, and
title of the episode. Gaslit
we have rectified it now. What am I talking about? No, this is Thank you. See, I could have gone unchecked. This is heroics. What am I talking about?
But I feel like partly why you mightn't have recognized it, I don't think it's a particularly well-defined theme. It's nice, but I don't think it's like maybe recurrent enough for it to catch our attention in the same way as some more familiar motifs would.
Yeah. Okay, wait. It's in my list of musical stats. I didn't put it in the timestamp. Okay, so it reminds, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Leia Trains Rey.
You'll have to remind me of that motif.
Yeah. Just in its... I'll play it first. I don't think it necessarily sounds like...
Got a cold?
Gosh.
Get powerful relief of...
It's YouTube ad, sorry.
Okay.
Right, like it doesn't sound like it, but in its uncomplicated sweetness, sentimentality of it reminds me of that a little bit.
I agree. It's that earnest thing again. It's just like earnest emotions, kind of, without a hint of cynicism, I think, in them at all. And I feel like that's comparable between the pair of them.
Totally.
That quality.
Yeah. And let's see. The brisk form is more of a standout to me. And that I notice, I have an easier time noticing the brisk form than the broad form. Mm-hmm, and it does come up.
It's the rhythm of the brisk form really catches your attention. That bum bum ba-dum. It's just very...
That's such a good point. No, that's such a good point. Like oftentimes fast forms do stand out or are more easily recognizable because the rate of the melody literally just unfolds faster. So it's you get to hear more of the it's like listening to the audiobook on or this podcast. I won't be offended if anyone does this. Like listening to it on 1.5 speed. You kind of are getting the information faster. It's the same thing when a melody is slow versus when a melody is fast. It can take, unless there's a lot of harmonic information, like chords that are very specific and unique, it can take longer. Now it works with something like Yoda's theme or like Leia's theme, which are, pretty slow, but they're harmonically, they're so specific and recognizable that it doesn't really take away from the swiftness in which we recognize them. This comes up for me a lot when I on Instagram, I play this. I've been doing this guess the tune game for years, where I play a violin cover every week. Whoever guesses what the tune is gets to pick the next one. So it's just kind of a chain of me doing song requests, and I try to keep them under a minute, 30 seconds to 60 seconds, and sometimes the song requested is one where the melody gets spit out pretty quickly, and sometimes it's one where the melody takes so long to spit out that I'm concerned whether it will be communicated in 30 to 60 seconds. Because if it unfolds very slowly and is not very specific, then for the first 30 seconds, people could think it's they might not recognize it yet because it won't have dawned on them yet. Because it could sound like 100 things, and then as I play more and more, it gets narrowed down to sounding like 50 things, and it's oh no, now this sounds like 20 things. So it just unfolds much slower.
It takes longer to pinpoint what it is, yeah. But there's not are there many of these slow, long-lined themes in the series, like generally, maybe that's partly the reason why they stick in your head a lot. Like even you mentioned Yoda and Princess Leia, but they kind of have a little bit more momentum than that theme, and even Leia has the florid, the da 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 dum, where that kind of rhythm like catches your ear a little bit more than other stuff. So I feel like he is able to balance that, even the sense of stasis and slowness with a bit of momentum at the same time that pushes them forward. I don't know.
No, I think you're right. I think these two examples, this slow form of this heroics theme and like that Leia trains Rey thing, I think they're uncharacteristically, that is not the right word, blah.
Yeah, I agree. They're just, well, I don't know them. I didn't know either of them, and I think that probably has
Yeah.
a little bit. No, I'll admit I haven't listened to this score in as much detail as most of the preceding scores because it's newer and because I just haven't been drawn to it given my experience with the movie, which is unfair because the music's still good. But even I know that the brisk form and I know the main Rise of Skywalker like friendship theme, and they're newer as well. So it's just those maybe more blah, maybe slightly less remarkable themes that have failed to stick in some people's head. But also I feel like some of them aren't given an opportune moment to shine as prominently in the sound mix, nor as thoroughly and regularly throughout the score as well, which obviously will influence how and when people are drawn to them, if they are at all.
Yes, so I have to be like a devil's advocate, which is like there is definitely a place for a blah theme. And also we have this top-down, like we are able to sit here, analyze what has been created, and, you know, we're like, heroics has a brisk form and a slow form. And we're kind of considering it like it's a category that John Williams himself meant to do a slow form and a brisk form, and it's just his slow form does not live up to his usual standard. When in reality, it probably was more like he wrote the brisk form for his speeder chase suite, which, and we both agree that one is more recognizable, and that one, yeah, we like that one. It's, you know, it unfolds quickly, it's catchy, there's like rhythm to it, etc. And then he probably needed to write underscore for this, and was like, okay, I'll base it on the heroics theme, but like make it less standouty. So he probably wasn't trying to make a good slow form of the heroics theme. It was probably just like utility wise, he had to, you know, it made sense to do that.
Yeah, it's expedient. It's handy. It makes sense for him to do.
To base it on the, so. Yeah, maybe instead of brisk form or slow form, like another way to think of it would be like the solo form and the like background form.
Oh, I think you were going to say the exciting form and the blah form.
That too, actually. Well, yeah,
Frank,
I'm in the spotlight form.
Labeling suggestions for you.
Well, it's like concert outfits. Like when you're playing in an orchestra, you have to just wear your regular concert blacks. But if you're playing a solo or something, then you can wear something a little bit more fancy.
Extra black. Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, like, yeah, are you going to be a soloist today? You get to be the cool form, or do you just need to wear, you know, kind of just the muted whatever? Because the whole point in orchestra, no one stands out.
Yeah, blend in.
So that's the blendy version.
But we will both do our homework and listen to that theme a little bit more, so it becomes more of an elevated theme and gets promoted beyond blah status.
Yeah.
I don't know, actually, have you heard it anywhere else, do you think, in the score so far? You probably bounced around the minutes at the time of recording. Probably listened to the whole thing all the way through.
Yeah, I don't think I have. No, I'm looking in my notes. It has not been named previously in an episode yet, so
okay.
Possible that I just missed it, everyone. Or that this is the first time.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Hopefully that.
Yeah, hopefully that. Okay, let's continue listening.
Only 2 were made.
This is Wayfinder.
He's pulling out a hologram.
Skywalker came here to find one.
I know. I was with him. Luke and I were tailing an old Jedi hunter, Ochi of Bestoon. He was carrying a clue that could lead to a Wayfinder. We followed the ship halfway across the galaxy here, When we got to his ship, it was abandoned. No clue, no wayfinder.
Is Ochi?
So this is some nice Sinister underscore.
Yeah. I like that string at the end, that circling. Not quite.
Yeah, me too. And even before that, the first little bit that we get is these descending woodwinds,
We got to his ship,
Yeah.
it was abandoned.
like chromatically.
He was carrying a clue,
Okay, let me go back for a little bit further.
killing an old Jedi hunter, Ochi of Bestoon. He was carrying a clue that could lead to the wayfinder. We followed the ship halfway across the galaxy here. When we got to his ship, it was abandoned. No clue, no wayfinder.
Is Ochi's ship still here?
It's out in the desert where he left it.
We need to get to that ship. Search it again.
There's just nice colors going on in the orchestration.
Totally, yeah. Effective use of the bassoon, the strings on the A string, which is like not super low but not super high, and then just like high woodwinds with like high woodwinds, low woodwinds, and strings. And similar to the Kylo Ren outlining before, I'm hearing, well, the violins, the part that I think you were saying that you like was. And if we listen to the slower notes that are unfolding.
Ochi's ship still here.
It's out in the desert where he left it.
We need to get to that ship. Search it again.
Yeah, there's like a bassoon at the. So it's the same notes. So in the bassoon and then the violins. So it's a way to just spread that little figure out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's using a different facet. Well, not a different facet. Maybe something that we tend not to talk about as much. We so often talk about harmony and rhythm and nice themes, but just the way he orchestrates, even in such a tiny moment as this, like, is something that sets him apart. Anyone can kind of write a nice theme, but knowing what to do with even 3 or 4 note figure like this in a small sequence to generate that mysterious atmosphere.
Totally.
The skill.
Yeah, it reminds me of, I'm sorry, it's going to be another analogy that will undoubtedly be half-baked, but Connor's putting his hands over his face. It reminds me of like cooking, or like it reminds me of cooking with like a very predetermined set of ingredients, and the ingredients normally make a certain dish, but then you also have like, you just have these ingredients laying around. Pretend that the ingredients are unlimited, so that's not a problem. So you just have the ingredients laying around, and then when the big dish is made, you can keep combining, you can do other things with the ingredients too. And John Williams is really great at that, at taking these ingredients and being like, I'm going to put together an interesting sauce, or I'm going to make them into like an interesting garnish, or like a dish that no one thought of. I'm going to use all these tools that I have, which is like the instruments of the orchestra, which is what, if a composer knows how to use the orchestra, there are so many possibilities, so many.
And it's not just about, like, he obviously knows how to use them, but it's just the years of knowledge and experience and study and training that he just knows exactly when to use this and that and that, and what complements what. In certain instances, your garlic will complement your ginger, will complement your cumin, your coriander, or whatever it is.
Right, and he's so
Knowing
experienced that he can, like, he's creative with the different combinations of things that can happen too. I just played D&D for the first time, and it was a very harrowing experience. And I was a really bad player because I could only see, I'm inexperienced. I could only see like very direct pathways to get things done. But like the more experienced players were able to have like solutions that were utilizing these random things in their bag, or these like skills that I wouldn't have even thought of how to pair with other skills and whatever. And it was very eye-opening to watch other people be able to combine things and see like kind of how just different elements could be arranged in order to meet their goals. Where I was thinking like, oh, I can throw a rock. I know how to. I have rocks, so I can throw a rock. Not, you know.
It's that lateral thinking, kind of seeing something slightly to the left of maybe what other people can see as well. Yeah, he's just so good at that.
Very good.
I also wrote down, just in reference to this little bit, just the sound of the hologram activating is a great sound. And I feel
agree.
like we probably don't give that sound enough love. And I don't know where that sound comes from exactly. It sounds familiar, but I don't think it's original trilogy sound. It felt more prequel-y to me, and I've no idea why. I did not do my research at all, but it just seemed like a prequel-esque sound, like the Death Star hologram on Geonosis or something like that. It had a certain quality. It probably completely wrong, but that's just what resonated with me.
No, I feel like the use of just like popping up holograms to view stuff did happen a lot more in the prequels. So
yes, it's actually the pocket, in the hand rather than on the screen. Or,
exactly. It's like let's look at the
Leia.
thing. Yeah, totally.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Good sound. Good sound. Okay, let's continue listening. Actually, let's get into that, because where did that come from?
Is Ochi's ship still here?
It's out in the desert where he left it.
We need to get to that ship. Search it again.
Now we're back into action. And the drums are getting us back into like a beat. And the strings are giving us like an ominous, some E minor thing. That's not the exact notes, but a fast. Okay, that was not exact, but you know what I mean. We're on a rhythm. Something's happening.
This is pointing towards that idea you said earlier of something can mean villainy and evil without being a theme specifically. So yeah, we're definitely communicating villainy just through those combination of features and the brass as well, which I quite enjoy.
If anything, like trouble on the horizon. And we hear a TIE fighter too.
I got a bad feeling about this. Ochi's ship is out past Lurch Canyon. Go.
Thank you, General.
You too, Chewie.
Leia needs pilots, General.
My flying days are long gone. But do me a favor.
Leia's theme.
My love.
You should give it to her yourself. Thank you.
TIE fighters intensifying.
Such good sound.
Agreed.
Sound is so iconic. And it says a lot for how much it means. They're inside the whole time. We don't see the TIE fighter, we just hear it and we instantly know what it is. That's just good.
We've been trained.
We've been trained so well.
So the music before that, with the bad feeling, it wasn't just like the ostinato. I feel like there was something else. Does it remind me of Tchaikovsky? A number of romantic symphonies, probably, where like this thing.
But do me a favor.
No, not that. All that too, but.
Thank you, General.
This.
You too, Chewie.
Leia needs pilots, General.
I just mean like the.
Bum, bum, bum,
homophonic.
That string.
Ochi's ship is out past Lurch Canyon. Go.
Thank you, General.
You too, Chewie.
Leia needs pilots, General.
Yeah, I think it might be harmonically, it might be the suspensions, it might be the soli nature, like all the strings together.
I get what you mean. It does sound familiar.
Whatever it is, it recalls tension, trouble, almost like a somberness or like I don't know, just personal associations I have with that.
The force, the physical force with which it's played, the kind of aggressiveness as well makes it stand out, and I feel like has that slightly anguished symphonic quality.
Anguished.
Whoever come, yeah.
Anguished symphonic quality. I think that feels close to what I.
Yeah, I get what you mean. There's just something about it which feels of a piece with something else. And I don't know if it's an exact musical pattern.
And the fact that it feels unmetered almost.
Yeah. Kind of just springs out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Rhythmically. it's good line.
It's
though.
a
It just-
good,
it kind of
it's a
it stands out
positive
as well.
for me. Yeah, exactly.
Williams has moved beyond Met and is now, Bleh.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so Leia's theme comes up. So, thoughts?
My favorite. I just love it. You just can't beat Leia's theme. Used in a thoroughly unsurprising context, in thoroughly unsurprising instruments, but it just works. It's just typical Leia's theme. The second Leia is mentioned, "Give Leia my love," and you hear typical instruments playing the theme, and works to signify her absence in a nice way. And I feel like I feel like it gives Billy D. Williams' line a little bit of the emotion that maybe the performance is lacking.
Yeah.
I don't really believe him very much, but the music kind of makes me believe him a little bit more. Because he's kind of a little bit wooden, no offense to him.
Right. I think a lot of my issue with Lando in this movie, first of all, I like that Lando, I'm not anti-Lando being in this movie. I think it's great that he's in this movie. I wish they got a better performance out of Billy D. Williams. Not as much of it felt a little bit like they didn't let him, or he was, whatever happened. He didn't quite get deep into the character. He kind of was, I'm Billy D. Williams as Lando in the character. And so I just wish they got more, I wish he was like directed differently, or maybe it was just the script or something, because I feel that's, the broad strokes of it, this is fine. Just the details of how it came off was like, it's a little cheesy.
I agree. But the music elevates him all the time, isn't it? When he comes at the battle at the end, that's when the main theme comes back in, isn't it? In that great moment. I think that's the.
I love that part of the movie.
Yeah, no, me too. I think I'm trying to revise my master's thesis for an article on Joe Williams' nostalgic use of original trilogy themes in the sequel trilogy. That's what it's on. And I'm kind of maybe being a bit mean to Rise of Skywalker sometimes in how it deploys some pre-existing themes like the Yoda lifting the X-Wing thing.
Right,
that just doesn't work for me at all. But I feel like that use of the main theme with the heroic descending tetrachords when we're hearing them in the movie for the first time, I just think that works so well, and that really elevates the heroism of his moment and makes him feel all the more heroic. And that's the one bit of it just hits me in the feels, that bit. It's
totally.
really
you mean when the
effective
ragtag
music.
fleet does show up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Same.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even though we've heard that 1,000 times before, it just somehow feels different when it's received such prominence in the movie itself. It just works at a different level.
Well, they save it for the right time and don't wear it out.
That's a good
and
point. They don't overuse
aspect.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't been done to death.
Yeah, some things can be worn out, and which is a shame. But luckily that one, they saved it for the right moment, very appropriate time. So that was good. So the thing with Leia's theme here is, so that article that you wrote like a year or two ago was on the feminine romantic cliche, and we talked about this the last time you were here, just even though it wasn't that related to what the subject, it was just I wanted to hear more about what you had written about. And we were talking about how Leia's theme and sort of Marion's theme from Raiders of the Lost Ark follow some musical lineage that is basically the feminine romantic cliche. I've also talked about this on other episodes too, so listeners probably know what I'm talking about basically. And the very reduced version of it is Leia's theme sounds inherently romantic because it was kind of written for Leia as a romantic figure to, the men in the movie. And that doesn't, like Rey's theme is notably not like that. I feel like Rey's theme is a much more modern, I guess, female hero theme, female character
and Rose's.
theme. And I feel like Rose's, yeah, I would say that, yeah.
That's more friendly, optimistic. But
totally.
The feminine romantic cliches are kind of, they mix femaleness, femininity, and romance at the expense of probably the character they're representing. They kind of just paint them in this light without much consideration for maybe what they are.
Yes. And I feel like Leia just happens to wear it well as a character. And so that's fortuitous, but I feel like someone like Hera in Rebels and now Ahsoka, I feel like Hera is a character who also is written with feminine romantic cliche, and I feel like Hera does not wear it well. So,
Okay.
but that is up for debate, I'm sure. But like, I feel like this is kind of off topic, but I feel like Hera's theme was written in following in the same line as Leia, but that
The character
it doesn't come
wasn't.
off. It was taken after Leia for the wrong reasons, and I feel like it's still a really pretty theme, but it's just like it doesn't really work for me because it's like I felt, well, I don't want to talk about Ahsoka, but like it takes a lot to unless your character is like definitely going to be staying in the romantic vein, it's likely that a romantic theme for just a strong character is not always going to really work.
No.
But in this moment when Lando is talking about give Leia my love, it not only does it work because it's Leia, and this association is so strong that it now kind of transcends a lot, and it also the romanticness of it also speaks to our nostalgia, but also because of who Lando is and how Lando has always had a soft spot for Leia. So it kind of does also work in that. It works on both levels in this case.
That's a great point. Yeah, it works for Lando in this context. I feel like we forgive the romantic associations as well because it's actually just such a gorgeous theme.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that it's maybe not 100% of a gel. It just works because maybe if that was the Luke Skywalker theme or the Han theme, like we'd still forgive it because it's just so beautiful, even if it doesn't match the stereotypical conventions of a love theme with whoever the character is itself. It's just, I think it's Williams' best, in my opinion. I think that's
You said it's
what I would
Williams'
play at my
best.
funeral. Just theme, full stop. I just love that piece of music so much.
Yeah,
Makes me cry all the time.
I adore it too. And I think Hera's theme is takes the main points of what a Leia's theme should have, like the major sixth leap and then the first two chords, and then just does that and is like, oh, okay, you took the two stereotypical parts of it and didn't really make it uniquely good.
Having the right ingredients, but not knowing what exactly to do with them. Back to that food.
You made the most
metaphor
basic
again. Yeah.
hot dog. I don't know. I don't know. You didn't really put a spin on it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't want to dig into Kiner. I think this was like, just it's hard knowing what to follow from the original trilogy and what to make new. I don't envy anyone in that position of writing new Star Wars.
It's such a tricky situation. Unless you do Nicholas Bertel and just go in completely different direction. I feel like, that works like it worked for me in Andor. So
I would be much more comfortable doing that, just less pressure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's continue.
General.
My flying days are long gone. But do me a favor. Give Leia my love.
You should give it to her yourself. Thank you.
TIE Fighter!
There! No speeders!
Up a half step.
How do you know how to do that?
No need to worry, I made it.
We gotta go.
So now we're getting into the chase of it all. Poe is hot wiring Ochi's ship, so.
And one of 3PO's best lines again, no need to worry.
I made
it. I love that because no one's keeping up with where he is, so he's as much speaking to, I think, the audience as he is to the characters as well. We're not keeping track of him. No offense. And again, you noted those upward step modulations there, which again ties back to that truck chase cue from Indiana Jones, where that's just this a common means of elevating tension and stuff in that sequence where he just steps up like 4 or 5 times and just make people anxious.
Where they keep doing steps up?
The whole time. All the time, yeah.
Yeah. I misspoke, by the way. This is obviously not Ochi's ship. They're just like skiff speeders that they're stealing. or hot wiring and stealing. But the music in the background, it kind of sounds similar to March of the Resistance, but it is just kind of like Resistance getting into gear type of music. And then just if we continue listening, we hear the stormtroopers spot them.
We spotted the fugitives.
Okay, what does that remind you of?
I,
There's no right
I'm not gonna
answer.
lie, I find it so hard to pick out the music in the sequence. This is part of my problem with the sequence, where the sound design is so in my face that I actually really struggled to pick out the details. So maybe will you play it again for me, please?
I'll play it again too.
Yeah, it does ring a bell.
We spotted the fugitives.
Here. It's been bothering me. So I'm just asking you.
Yeah. No, I don't know. It's the last chord that it doesn't quite resolve. It lingers on something. I don't know. And just the accent, but it's not quite settled. That's that high note bothers.
Yeah,
The
that
high
bothers
note
me too,
bothers.
for sure. Yeah, that also is like, because I want to go, what is that?
I have no idea.
But it's something.
I don't. It sounds really, really familiar, but I'm actually not.
I
I
know.
can't pick it out.
No, I know.
Do you
it's
actually know what it
very-
is?
No, I don't.
I feel like you're messing with me.
I don't. I just have
feel like this
guesses
is-
of what it reminds me of.
Yeah,
Because
go on.
it is like, I've been like, is this a direct quote? Because when I hear it, I feel like I can hum the rest of it, but I'm like, first of all, I don't know what it is. And also, I'm not sure that it's just something that's happened once. So it goes back to like, oh, is this just a Williamsism that is just it's just very familiar to me? And I can't really remember if it's like a quote unquote theme or if it's just a bunch of idioms that are put together.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me if that is the case, because wasn't this like is the elephant in the room that this coming few minutes is called the speeder chase? And I don't really think that we get a good representation of that speeder chase at all in this film. So I feel like a lot of what's happening in the next couple of minutes is a lot of things being stitched together, maybe some inserts, some original stuff, some pre-existing stuff. So it could easily be something from 3 seconds of Attack of the Clones. Maybe that is lodged in your brain somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's just been put here. It could actually be an insert. Like,
you're right. I mean, I guess we don't know for sure whether it was music editor placed or whether it was composed new. Because one thing that it reminded me of, the first thought I had was like prequels. And then also on Discord, because this was bothering me. So Dan Golding on Discord was like, oh, it actually reminds me more of the sequels. And then I was like, yeah, I think you're actually right. And then I was like, does this remind me of The Adventures of Han? The little suite that he wrote, that John Williams wrote for Solo: Star Wars Story. And I feel like there's like a lot of stuff in there that does remind me of it. So let's listen to a little bit of The Adventures of Han. Okay, so yeah, again, John Powell wrote the score to the Solo: Star Wars Story, but John Williams did write a suite before that because he wanted to write Han Solo's themes. Okay, already? So we're getting this like perfect fifth. We're getting this like scale degree 5/1 thing. Type of thing. And I feel like, okay, here, sorry, we're going to connect some dots. something. And now it's going to different things, but just I think it's just that first note that you said that bothered you too. That just you can't. It's that first hit that is like, what is that? So anyway, I think it must be a familiar. Dom Sewell.
Something.
I know you're listening to this, and I know that you know what we're talking about. So
he will know.
He will know.
I feel like maybe you and Dan hit the nail on the head, though, if Dan's saying sequels and you're saying something from Solo. Maybe it's just late Williams vocabulary in general.
Totally.
Something of that nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, my theory is it could just easily be dropped in from somewhere else.
Maybe it's the leap. Okay. Let's see. Okay, maybe it's the, what's it called? Oh my God, I'm thinking of I can't remember, it's like a very obvious name. Why can't I think of it? It's like, it's when you leap to something that doesn't share the same sharps and flats. It's not like a very obscure term. Okay, whatever.
Not like an enharmonic or...
No, we're jumping from... That's D sharp, and then we're going A, D natural.
Okay, so...
Like Imperial March does it. Oh my gosh. It's like such a common film music term. I just can't remember it.
Pandiatonicism?
I'm thinking of something like that. Like pantriaticism? No.
Yeah. Or
oh my
like
gosh.
Modal interchange, jumping between two different keys.
It'll come to me, but wait, let me go back to the Han thing. Okay, I don't think that's it. Okay, there's something.
Are you having a breakdown? Are you okay? Are you all right? Do you need help?
There's something about it's like a clean. It sounds like a clean reset. Oh my God, this is gonna bother me so much. You know what? You can hear it though, right?
I can hear what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I don't know what the word is though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's what I'm responding to. I think that's what I'm responding to. Anyway.
I don't know what's happening.
Okay, so let's move on with our lives because there will be a little bit more of this. Yeah, this is the episode that breaks me. Okay. They fly now?
That chord. That chord before they fly now really reminds me of something from Tatooine. Like the start, something like in The Phantom Menace. I don't know why, that chord.
Oh.
That big brass chord. Maybe it's just the tonality of it is the exact same as a chord. And the brass timbres, I don't know, it sounds exactly like something Tatooine from The Phantom Menace. I don't know what it is.
I like Tatooine.
Bum, bum, bum.
Okay, let's hear.
Like an introduction to the pod race sort of thing.
Like the suspension?
No, I think it's literally right before they fly now.
Okay.
I can hear it there.
Okay. Okay, so probably in about 10 seconds.
Bam.
That?
Maybe, yeah, I don't know what that is. It just
Are you having a
sounds
breakdown?
Tatooine-y. Yes, I think you're contagious.
Oh
I don't
my
know
gosh.
what it is. It's just something really. What note was it? You got it straight away.
A sharp.
A sharp, which is also B flat.
That's enharmonic.
Yes. Okay, maybe. There's no answer to that question, but
Here comes
You know what it reminds me of is The Last Jedi during around the Holdo maneuver area. It's like a great moment of tension. Not 100% sure.
oh yeah,
But again,
Uh,
listeners, please
feels-
jump in here.
yeah.
But you're right. It just feels familiar. It feels like we've been here before.
I think it's more the timbre of just the way the brasses are
Yeah.
playing in that specific moment. Maybe it's not the chord.
How would you
or
describe
in
the
and of
timbre?
itself. It kind of felt like celebratory to me, which is why my brain went Tatooine pod racy, but I don't think that's what it's connoting in this context. It's more, maybe it's a bit anguished again, or it's something. It's kind of hanging in the air above everything else. It kind of stands apart, I feel like. So maybe that's kind of,
I think I agree. It is
Separateness.
hanging in the air, whether that's good or
Yeah.
bad. It is standing out. It does feel assertive,
yeah.
whether that's like
It's just
battle
set apart
cry
from the other
assertive.
textures, and yeah.
It stands out
It's-
from
yeah,
the
that's
texture.
just why it jumped out to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, and it's accompanied by a cymbal crash.
That's it
Right.
as well. It's marked. Yeah.
Yeah.
They fly now!
They fly now?
And it does indeed.
It goes up a sec. Yeah, a little
Yeah, and then the strings are going like. I don't know the exact notes, but like there are some low violins doing something underneath that too.
bit. Yeah.
They fly now!
They fly now?
They fly now!
But like whirling upwards.
Yeah, it almost is like the violins are doing what the engines are whirring.
Yeah. Is it jetpacks? Are they taking off with that instance?
Or yeah,
though?
yeah, what? Yeah, exactly. The flying contraptions that.
Yeah, it's kind of following that along. I love the sound of them as well, though. They kind of sound
Yeah.
like electrically. Is that a word? Electrically? They sound like electricity. Oh, I'm having another breakdown. They don't sound like, I don't know. I should go. It's just a good sound, a good distinct
Good
marked sound that kind of sounds vaguely familiar, but also
New.
like something I haven't heard before, but it fits in the context
Yeah.
of this movie, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, and at the time of watching this in theaters, if you saw it like right when it came out, you would have heard this before we've seen a lot of Mando and jetpack stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. Which has they'll have their own distinct sonic identity as well. So maybe I'm just
Totally.
comparing them to the Mando stuff because I've heard the Mando ones more frequently and more recently as well. So maybe that's why it kind of caught my attention too.
Yeah. So let's get into that again.
Sound good sound design.
Good sound effect.
They fly now!
They fly now?
They fly now!
So yeah, that really quick, gnarly violin line. We also are hearing whirring though, not from the jetpacks, but from the like speeders or whatever's happening. Of the ground whirring of whatever they're driving.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
On the ground, the friction
Yeah.
or whatever.
Or maybe it's my brain doesn't like comprehend quick action stuff. So I couldn't tell you the play by play of what exactly has happened. I just know that people have been
neither.
shooting and chasing, and now there's people flying. I don't really know. I'm guessing the stormtroopers' ship got destroyed, like skiff or whatever, speeder got destroyed. Probably that's it crashed. Oh yeah, it crashed. I do remember that. But yeah, there's worrying happening. There's just a car accident.
This is again another maybe slight issue I have with the sequence more generally. It is actually hard to follow, I feel like, and it's cutting away very quickly. Just maybe, so it's it is hard to keep up with. And I feel like this, again, Williams' speeder chase cue as released on the soundtrack, like you barely hear any of that in the sequence. And it was obviously intended for this sequence. And I feel like there was obviously maybe some major editing went on in this sequence afterwards. Maybe it was done up. So the sound effects are really prominent. The music is not. The music doesn't seem to have the sense of continuity that many of his other action cues would, like the truck chase that we mentioned earlier, or even the Battle of Hoth that we talked about before, or something like the asteroid field chase. It just doesn't have that same level of structure that Williams is able to find in complex action cues. He has been able to, like, again, give 2-3 minute long pieces of music a sense of unity and coherence in preceding films in these really convoluted, complexly edited sequences, and I feel like that's just not the case in the scene because some major post-productions shenanigans went on and did not do his music any favors, particularly in this sequence, I feel like, which is why I'm going to be honest, I don't have many musical comments for the sequence because I find it so hard to actually hear the music. And obviously I'm a film music person. I'm trained to listen to film music, even underneath dialogue, even underneath sound effects, but I find this stuff particularly hard to catch my ear into.
Well, what you've already said, that is like precisely the type of commentary that is perfect for this episode, because I think you've hit the nail on the head. Like, obviously we don't know exactly what went on, but we do know that what's on the sound, we do know that the music that we hear in this scene is not available on the soundtrack, and that what's on the soundtrack is something called Speeder Chase. And like you said, it is structured like a John Williams action cue that is cohesive and has, nice theme to it and whatever. And this clearly isn't a very linear speeder chase, and it is hard to follow. I feel like, I don't know if you feel this way too, but I feel like, I'm not sure if this is a modern filmmaking thing. I find a lot, because I find this in the shows too. I'm like, there's so much happening. And I feel like in the OT and PT, I also have trouble following action sequences, but I feel like I have an easier time understanding the broader strokes of it. Like if it's a chase, or if it's like a pod racing thing, or if it's like a speeder chase on Endor or something like that, I can see very clearly like who's winning, or like I can see what's happening. But when there's so many close-ups on little things happening, it's kind of the context gets lost for me.
I agree. And the way, obviously, the prequels were, I think they're all shot on digital, or especially episode 2 and 3 were definitely shot on digital, and the originals were all shot on film. So when Williams is arriving on the scene to tempt the movie, to score the movie, to find out where music is going to be, to measure sequences, to see how long his music is going to fit in, the film has been edited, so the length of time has been set in stone, and his music can just fit over the top nicely. But now in the age of digital, when the film can be edited so much after the fact, even after he's come on board and after he's decided, I'm going to write 3 minutes for this scene, I'm going to write 2 minutes for this scene and hit this point and that point and that point. If the film is being edited after his music's being written, he, as a composer who writes with pencil and paper at the piano, doesn't have the same tools that Hans Zimmer or even John Pell would have to match this new rapid digital age of filming where things are edited up until they're released. So I feel like he as great as his music is, he doesn't have the skill set to adapt to this type of crazy production schedule in this film, which is not his problem. Basically, the editors should have locked the picture a lot sooner so he could just write his music to fit over it. So I feel like his music is really the victim of whatever happened in this post-production, because was it 11 days of recording he had to do with multiple revisions or something like that, and there was rumors of him doing like 3 hours of music altogether, obviously, which we don't hear much of.
I don't know.
I feel like I was definitely reading stuff around that at the time, that there was just major shenanigans.
You're bringing up something you've made something new kind of click for me, which is like, which is that John Williams is not equipped in the same way as someone like John Powell to make his score adapt in the way that he wants to the digital editing, to the new way that things are done. And really, if you want, in order to get the best score out of John Williams, you would have to make your film according to how John Williams makes his scores best. And so if you are making something that is not in that way, then you're not going to have the best score. You might still have a really wonderful score, but the parts that get like really changed at the end, you might not be able to get the revisions there. So you might have to rely on your editor to make those parts work. And also it's like, but if it's like not, it's just a byproduct of changing times, I guess, where it's like filmmakers probably aren't trained they probably are trained, but they probably don't have that much experience and opportunity to make films in the quote unquote this old style. So they're perhaps not even able to do their best work if they're going to try to do it to fit the way that John Williams does his best work. So it's like those things are just kind of incompatible at
it's a bit of
a certain point.
A skill set mismatch. They're just not going to click together in the optimum way. And maybe this like new, I'm just going to call it the sound of Hans Zimmer, that post Hans Zimmer sound. Maybe the reason why it has become so dominant in today's films is because it fits this new editing style and this new way films are made. Even the way they're recorded, aren't they? A lot of the time recording now, is it called striping? Where they'll record different instrumental families at different times. They'll record all the woodwinds in one session one day, and they'll record all the strings in one session one day. So there's a bit more freedom in mixing later on, where they can amp up the brass really, really clearly in certain contexts if the sound has been manipulated in a certain way afterwards. I'm assuming that all of Williams's... Oh yeah, this is pre-pandemic, so Williams would have recorded all the orchestra probably at the same time.
Yeah, he did.
Even there's not the greater freedom in mixing.
Yeah, but even before that...
music to fit...
Oftentimes before this... Yeah, and before the scores, it's like he wouldn't have had a mock-up either, which is something that John Powell could have, or like someone who knows is in the more digital age of composing would be expected to have a mock-up, a digital mock-up, so that the directors and whatever could hear an almost realistic, obviously with like digital instruments, so not the final version, hopefully. Sometimes the mock-up actually gets in the film, but that's another conversation. They get to hear a very realistic, not just like the ideas, not just the broad strokes, not just the piano sketch. They're used to hearing pretty much what the result is going to be, but then they re-record it with live players. You know, because hopefully the live players will make it sound even better, or it's in their contract that they have to use live players, or they'll actually use both, but kind of mix them together, live players and mock-up. But the point is, John Williams doesn't do digital mock-ups. He records with the orchestra, and the directors don't get to like hear a super realistic version of what it's already going to sound like before it's already recorded.
Yeah, unless he just has them over at the piano to just even hear a theme or two, but they won't be
right. But some directors don't have the vision. Sequence. Yeah, and some directors have the vision to be able to hear the potential in that, and some don't.
Yeah, I was again doing research for that article on nostalgia and the sequel movies with music, and I read a quote that like Rian Johnson basically gave Williams the temp, which the temp for Last Jedi was just all pre-existing Star Wars music, and then he actually didn't hear anything until Williams recorded on the day, so there was no like consultation between the time of, again, giving a vague idea of what music will fit where, and this is the music for the film, so there's no consultation going on in that regard. So maybe even Johnson, as much as I love The Last Jedi, I think that score is maybe dwells a little bit too much on the familiar at the expense of giving us new stuff sometimes. I feel like that was a bit because of Williams's music being temped with his own existing Star Wars music, and then a lack of input from Johnson, who was this progressive director in terms of what Star Wars was, but then the score kind of ended up being a little bit conservative and relying on the familiar. a little bit.
Yeah,
too
it
much.
did.
I think
It did.
That was a bit of a ramble.
No, it did do that with some notable exceptions. Like The Last Jedi has some of my favorite new things, like the Canto Bight, and like some cool, some, and then some cool musical Easter eggs, like The Long Goodbye. John Williams playing his own score from like quoting his own other movie.
Yes.
Which was a Johnson idea, but like.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like John Williams wrote the score for this movie called The Long Goodbye, and in that movie there's this one song, The Long Goodbye, which The Long Goodbye.
Comes
So
up over and over.
over and over in
again,
different iterations. And so in the Canto Bight casino scene, when there's like the piano player before the Fathiers come and break in, there's like just a lounge piano playing, and that is The Long Goodbye, and it's John Williams himself playing it on the piano.
Oh, I didn't know this. I should. Yeah. I knew it was quoted in the movie. I didn't realize it was Williams playing it himself. It's actually a good song as well. I've listened to that a few times. It's really nice. It's really pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But different directors, I guess, have different ways of working and with composers. I bet John Williams has. He's so diplomatic. He probably won't give like quote unquote dirt on different people. But I'm just curious, like what he likes best.
But then, interestingly, like the music for Force Awakens, also directed by J.J. Abrams, I don't think it suffers from half as many of the issues that The Rise of Skywalker has, and that's the same director.
Musically?
So
musically or just overall movie-wise?
Musically, I think the music's a lot more obvious and consistent and coherent. Again, it doesn't seem to be as manipulated as much as this movie was, and that's the same director. So I don't know if it was just J.J. Abrams was in a messy situation, The Rise of Skywalker, because clearly that collaboration worked really, really well. In the Force
or if
Awakens.
it's like a beginning of a trilogy thing, where taking time to establish new characters and stuff, which I feel like a new film has that advantage. Like, let's really make sure we have Rey right, and they really nailed Rey. Like the themes for Rey, they nailed.
And it has that 3 or 4 minute montage just for us to hear the scene, or just for us to hear the music when we're seeing that, again, montage of our routine.
Yeah.
And we don't really get many music-fronted moments in this film where the music is specifically doing all the storytelling without dialogue and sound effects. Again, probably with the exception of Luke lifting the X-Wing, but that's music we've heard already. Or that Force Awakens, or the main theme coming back when Lando,
right. I think this film actually does have a lot of musical strengths, and that is in the friendship themes. I think the friendship theme is a really huge actually strength that this movie has. But yeah, the way that it's always stronger when the scene itself has more time to unfold, and it's clear that it hasn't been like chopped up and stuff. So
yeah,
we're not going to get as good of action, like as cohesive action music, but we still will get like good thematic moments when there's time to have those moments.
Yeah, it's partly down to the editing and then partly down to the plotting of the movie as well. I feel like the movie the plot's okay, but it's kind of just go here, get this, go here, get that. Now we have to go get this, and then we're here now.
Yeah,
it's a very quick movie. A lot happens in a relatively short amount of time, even for modern movies. And I feel like, again, because there's so much action and movement all the time, that gives the music sometimes has to take even more of a backseat because there's so much plot to get through.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
To have the luxury. That was a huge tangent, by the way. I feel like
Let's
I went
continue.
on a big rant there. Yeah.
Okay.
Wherever we were, I can't even remember.
Oh, sorry. Okay, we are about to get into. This is after they fly now.
They fly now!
So that in itself feels like a little splattering of Williams, a bunch of Williamses, and I they kind of sound like planing chords or whatever. But the point is that they are like the chords are changing, like, you know, every half note basically. Yeah. C sharp. So that's a 1 to flat 7, and then flat 3. And then 5. And then if you're looking on YouTube, I have put like a little transcription up, and then you can see within that there's like also so like the Rebel fanfare.
Yeah.
Which is not a Rebel fanfare quote, but it is associative progression for heroism. And so there are multiple themes that kind of will have this chord progression, which is, in this case, it's E to C sharp major. But the point is that it's major triads, A minor third apart. And you know, that makes sense.
Could you play it all in a row again and just like really make that chord stick out?
Yeah.
Would you mind? Just so I can hear it a bit more.
Absolutely.
Just in the context.
Yeah. Okay. Here. That was it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And I doubt Williams intended that, but again, it's just part of that heroic style topos that makes us feel victorious. So again, we're not keeping score this episode because that got messy the last episode.
Yeah, we're not keeping score.
Exactly. That's the rebels.
Exactly. Yeah. This is the resistance are getting something back. Yeah. And then we go immediately back to the harrowing music.
It's a great little line.
The that?
Yeah, it's just, again, a single note, isn't it? It's just a G sharp or something the whole time. And it's it's just rhythm telling the whole story. It's so good.
Yeah.
And just that little resolution at the end, but doesn't really give us kind of the note change at the end offshoots us in a different direction. So he's kind of finished that idea. Okay, and then we're gone now. Just into something else. It's just really nice painting.
Agree. Did that also remind you? Was that a similar brass timbre of the other thing?
Oh, play it again? I don't know, actually, it wasn't.
Okay.
It didn't stick out, but maybe now you've mentioned it. Let me listen. That.
Oh, it was woodwinds, never mind. Oh no, that one.
No.
Okay.
Excellent job, sir! Terrible job, sir!
This is 3PO's movie.
I know.
He's so good.
It is 3PO
So
movie.
good. Good.
Did we lose him?
It's like kind of typical. Ostinato, like we've heard elsewhere.
Sense DSC, right? E, is it?
Totally, it's not. But so
Same shape.
It's related.
Yeah. Just
Yeah,
vaguely.
same vague shape for sure.
Job, sir!
I feel like that was another associative progression just thrown in there.
Excellent job, sir!
No, wait.
Did we lose him? Looks like it! Excellent!
Sorry, oh my God, this is that was something. That was like is that something like Imperial Marchy? Oh my gosh.
Imperials. Whatever the A New Hope one is.
Job, sir!
Oh my gosh, listeners.
Lose him! Looks like it! Excellent job!
Oh God, I wish I remembered that word that I was trying to think of before. Oh my God.
What's the interval?
Oh my gosh, it's F minor to A flat minor. So that would be minor triads separated by
one to flat
a
3, minor 3.
Yeah. So that would
It's like an inverse. It's an inverse of
Oh, it's the evil deception one. Yeah, like the emperor. Yeah. Yeah, but it's
planing though. It's that planing movement.
It is planing, yeah. Yeah, just thrown in there. Let me add that into my notes. Okay, that was associative progression. If you're looking in Frank Lehman's catalog, there's this page for associative progressions, and there's like 9 of them listed. So when I say number 2, I just mean like the second one in that list, which is associations are evil, deception. And so...
And it appears in the Emperor's music?
Yeah.
Or something
And
related.
in Conspiracy, which is another sequel trilogy thing, I believe.
Okay.
Sorry, prequel. It's from Attack of the Clones. That's right.
The mystery. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait to do the prequels.
Oh, so excited.
Okay.
You need to flag that Tatooine chord for me for the prequels. You need to be listening out for that all the time to see if you can answer my eventual question.
Oh, I will really, really try. Yes.
3 years' time, whenever you're on the prequels.
Okay, let's continue listening.
Job, sir! Terrible job, sir!
Now, about... Do you hear it yet? That is indeed Rey's theme.
Can't beat it. So good.
It is very good.
So good. And it feels a little bit more...
Slow.
Long? Yeah, the notes feel a little bit longer, yeah.
Augmented.
Which is kind of, a little bit strange for an action scene. Maybe you'd think it would go a little bit quicker. I don't know, to keep up with the pace of the scene, but I suppose when they're slightly longer valued, when it's played slightly slower, it draws more attention to it. It makes...
Yeah. No, I think it makes sense being
intended.
augmented in an action sequence because there's so much else happening, so then you can actually hear it unfold. It's kind of the opposite problem.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. It's slow, but it actually works better because there's lots of material filling in.
Yeah, it gets more time to shine, to stand out. And I feel like, is that little woodwind idea played over that woodwind thing we were talking about a second ago? The I feel like that's appearing over it slightly, is it? At the end of it? Or maybe go back to the start of it?
Yeah.
The start of the theme?
3, 4. Oh yeah. Totally. Now Rey's theme in a different key.
Yeah.
Never underestimate a droid.
I love that ending.
Yeah.
Steps up
Another
out
octatonic.
of it. So cool. I missed the octatonic.
Okay, yeah. But let's listen to what you're saying. You're saying the way that Rey's theme ends, it kind of just keeps, it doesn't just end on the note. It kind of just keeps climbing up to a different finish. And I like that too.
Yeah, and it doesn't modulate or anything like that. It just kind of walks
yeah, it just keeps walking up.
Yeah.
Never underestimate a droid.
Yeah, it's really nice.
So cool.
Never underestimate a droid.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's done that before. It's really effective.
It is really effective. I agree. Yeah.
And it's actually, it stands out as well. It's such a leapy theme. It leaps up and down, and like the range of that theme is so wide in comparison to most other themes in the whole series, probably. But then just that step movement out of it, I don't know, sets it apart, but also continues it away a little bit. I don't know. It's lovely.
It's like making a touchdown. Sorry, sports term. Okay. It's like doing a sports
Touchdown.
goal. Like doing a sports goal. And then instead of like staying there and cheering, you just keep walking.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I
The
used to
cool
be
celebration.
I used to be a gymnast, and so like when you finish a routine, whether no matter what it is, vault, bars, beam, floor, or you stick your landing, and you have to like it's very important that you make it stick, that you stick your landing and you stay in place and you do your thing. But in practice, the temptation to just land your thing and keep walking is very strong.
Yeah. Just look cool. Like
Especially
cool-
if you're
cool-
kind of falling out of it. Oh, that's the thing. If you're kind of falling out of it and you know that you're not really going to stick it, but you kind of just want to play it off a little bit, you just casually land your jump or whatever, like you land your vault and just kind of keep walking. And it's like, oh,
Smooth it
sorry,
out.
I forgot to stay in place. But like really your momentum kind of made it easier for you to just walk it out. Walk it out if you were stuck.
Do the sports metaphors and stories happen so much with other guests, or is this just a me thing where they come back all the time?
No, it's happened.
Actually, I brought it up the last time. I think that was my
Okay.
fault.
Wait, are you a big sports person?
No, so I don't know why I did that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
last time.
It's don't worry, it's not just you. It's just I think
Okay.
sports does offer a lot of good frameworks for analogies. So like, you know what? That should be
Yeah.
like the reason I learn the rules for different sports, so I can make better metaphors. I can not have as half-baked metaphors. That's actually that's a good. I have a reason now.
That sounds like homework, though.
It does sound like homework.
Homework.
Okay, continuing. That was the octatonic. I don't know if it was quite octatonic, but it was still a filigree, a
Felt.
woodwind,
Yeah.
a woodwind filigree. Oh, timpani. You said you wanted to
and
come
I
back to
said-
timpani.
I did. I just said it sticks out. That's the point. This range, the sound range of all the sound effects, the frequency, they all feel like close together. It feels like it's all in the middle of what we can hear. And then I feel like that timpani just stands out so well because it's removed from the really dense, busy sound range that we're hearing in the middle of what's capable of us to hear. And I feel like that's just again, like no point to me trying to correct what was done in the film, but I feel like if they exploited those low frequencies a little bit more, if this was a whole timpani driven instance, I feel like the music would be a lot more effective because you could hear it and it would stay out of the way of the sound effects. You could have the sound effects space and you could have the space for the music. This is what, like, in the early days of film with like Max Steiner and Wolfgang Korngold and all those early film composers, like they didn't have a way of writing for film music before this. They had to make up all the rules, and basically one of the early rules was just stay out of the range of actors' voices, use instruments that are removed from their range. And I feel like maybe that wasn't really happening here. Everything's just so dense in the middle of our range.
Interesting. Okay. I feel like that rule is definitely still abided by, or at least attempted to be abided by. And I also feel like what I'm hearing you say is prior to the timpani entrance, we're hearing a lot, like the violins and woodwinds kind of overlap in the same range as like the speeders whirring and the chainsaw sounds and when whatever. So let's listen.
Never underestimate a droid!
And so I do feel like the violins and the high woodwinds do provide contrast to the banging and stuff, because those are going to be lower. And I feel like there is less dialogue here. It's more about the banging with a few little woo, like never underestimate, like a few one-liners thrown in. So I feel like it's like the banging contrasts with the high-pitched instruments. But then when the timpani comes in, it adds a different sort of bottom, whereas like when the sound effects are the bottom, the vibe is different from when the music then comes in and reinforces or serves as the bottom. Like, because the music, I think, is more, the purview of the music is more to tell us how we're feeling about the story rather than literally convey the story. So I feel like that's when it kicks our emotions up a notch there. Like it elevates something, or it makes us think, oh, something is even more dangerous here, or whatnot.
It's kind of like accenting the sound effects a little bit in a way. Yeah.
Yeah.
and then not when it needs to.
Let's hear.
It's just, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll keep playing. So you can hear that. Yeah. Yeah, so when the timpani comes in there, it makes me feel like, oh, if I had checked out before, maybe I should pay attention again here.
Yeah, true. Especially for dense action sequence with lots of editing that are hard to keep track of.
Yeah.
You're awake now. Timpani, surprise.
Yeah. And then the music starts, it kind of paves the way for the music to start changing slightly. Little brief triumphant hints.
Yeah, I like that.
Just tension. Panning. Yeah, so
Victory, that's your
that's
heroic.
the triumphant flourish. That's the the heroic's brisk form.
Yeah, that we were alluding to earlier.
See, doesn't that
then,
sound more like a thing than the other thing? It does.
Less blah. But that, again, just to bring up the cue that wasn't used again, that motif, heroic's brisk form, really defines the speeder chase. That gives the speeder chase, the cue that Williams wrote, that gives that cue such a sense of continuity and structure and linearity. And then I think that's the only time we hear that specific motif in this whole instance, which is, again, major insight into the... I used shenanigans earlier, so I'm going to go with tomfoolery now. Major insight into the tomfoolery that was happening in this scene, that he had such a consistent motif that was appearing throughout it. I don't know how many times, but a lot of times. And now it's only...
We'll play a little bit. When we're done with the minutes, we'll play a little bit of the speeder chase track.
Yeah. But it's a great little motif. And it works well in this instance, but I feel like in the original cue, you kind of build up to this momentous moment a little bit with all the other citations of it earlier on. So it maybe loses... It still has an impact of triumph and celebration, but maybe if Williams' original cue was kept, as I'm sure he wanted it to be, that heroic moment might be accented even more, because it's something we've been musically building to as well as narratively building to. But here it's just dropped in.
Yeah, and I would say that adding in the slow form earlier was not enough of a hint for me to be like, I recognize this. But before we heard it slower and blander.
No, not enough of a hint at all. I agree.
Yeah.
That doesn't trigger as a related thing, especially given music's understatedness.
Yeah, let's actually put that. Okay, there's a lot. Yeah, let's. Yeah, just so I can, just to remind it, because I bet lots of people are like, I don't even remember.
Oh yeah,
the slow
maybe
beat.
Play them side by side.
Yeah. Oh, and
that was when Lando introduced himself earlier.
That's I forgot to point out, which I should have pointed out, that the planing triad thing that we heard was also the slow heroics theme. But still, the most salient part of it wasn't like, oh, that's the heroics theme. It was like, oh, I'm hearing the associative progressions.
The progression that stood out more in our ear than
that
melody. Yeah.
Yeah. So versus. Yeah, I mean,
they're kind of a little bit intervallically slightly similar. Maybe the contour of it a little bit, the
sure.
rising and then the falling.
For sure, but they feel so different.
It's not obvious enough to notice the relationship between them immediately.
And I think some things are, and I think that's okay. I think sometimes we notice patterns after analyzing them or seeing them on paper, and they're useful for for analysis, for academics, for whatever, people doing podcasts, but they're not necessarily the same things that in the moment trigger our ears. Like, yeah, they're things that we can see afterward when we look at the data. Yeah.
But the things that do trigger in our ear then are, again, going back to that conversation we had at the start, are the broader ideas of victory that fit into that topos, that style topic, though, that bright brass chord. Like, we don't need to understand a literal harmonic relationship between those things because we know the effect of them is kind of similar. So we've taught that.
Totally. Okay, we have like 20 more seconds left. That was a little bit of Mickey Mousing.
Ochi ship.
That chord.
Which one? Ochi ship?
Big brass. No, before that, the big brass chord. Boom, whatever that was.
What did it
Feels
remind you of?
again, it feels pre-Imperial Marchy. That's what I wrote down. It feels like it introduced an Imperial March or some. I don't know. Feels like it's tracked in somewhere. And also, I feel like there's an obvious. I don't know if it's an obvious cut or a really jarring switch between that big chord and whatever happens next. I feel like there's a musical cut going on there.
Oh, okay.
Tracked. It doesn't feel like a natural Williamsy progression from this prominent brass chord to that. I think it's strings going on after it. It feels like a cut. I know
let's listen.
Many, I'm sure, that are going on. It just doesn't feel natural to me.
And you're talking about before the woodwind.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
What was it?
Okay, well, let's just tell me if it's the right spot.
Ochi ship.
There, that change.
Oh.
Do you get what I mean? Yeah, from the brass chord to the softer wind chord. I don't know. They feel like they're from separate worlds to me.
Oh, interesting. Let's hear.
Ochi ship.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like it doesn't feel like a logical flow to my ear.
It feels like not a logical flow, but not in a way that doesn't make sense to me. Because I am used to in like the sort of symphonic technique of like you do a big hit, but underneath that there's already some strings, sustaining something slowly, softly, so that the effect is that when the big thing is lifted, there's this shroud of something that's already been there. But whether that was intentional, like this could have been cut in later, and we would never know, just because conveniently that big brass chord does serve as a way to kind of put a curtain in front of what's changing anyway.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it is like, it's okay. Yeah. I don't know.
I feel like there's a lot of cuts going on anyway, because we obviously know that Williams's full key wasn't used. So I feel like that's one that it's a transition that stood out to me, and I felt like it made sense.
Yeah,
I think in that context.
I would side with you there.
Ochi ship.
I've seen that ship before.
Hey! Get all of them!
I like little appoggiaturas or whatever.
Yeah, they're nice. Nice little color.
Yeah.
Like we're out of the woods, but not quite out of the woods yet.
Like we're out, exactly. There's little blips like static.
Yeah.
And then we're almost at the end. Kabloom. Okay, yeah. So basically, kabloom times 10.
I wrote in my notes. I wrote bang and also boom. So we're on the same. We're on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
Bang and boom. Neat ending to the 5 minutes, though.
Yeah.
Like,
nice
almost like you planned it.
I know.
It's so weird.
Should I play a little bit of the speeder chase?
Yeah, I feel like just because I've mentioned it a few times.
Yeah.
Because it's so nice. It's proper Williams scherzo action writing in full force.
It is. So you can find this on the OST, just the Rise of Skywalker, wherever you listen to this album. Here we go. There's the heroics. There's that also.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that happened before, but in a different key. What we're
That's what I
leaping
think.
to is a tritone.
Yeah,
I will.
similar.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
And we did hear that elsewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Like somewhere, right?
Yeah, that was the Dies Irae type thing, was it? That I mentioned earlier? No? Or is it something different?
No, but it was something that you said that you liked, and it was, I think the strings were playing it, and there was also the slower instrument that was playing it. Oh, no. You know what? It wasn't the same thing. But again, it's like all these little things are kind of similar. It was the
fragments.
So, not
Yeah,
quite
yeah,
the same
yeah.
thing, but
No. Close.
yeah.
There it is again.
In yep. Stepping up. Walking out a little bit.
Oh, yeah, a little bit like the Rey.
Octatonic.
Oh, yes. That's a little bit like that woodwind repeated note thing that we were talking about earlier as well. Whatever it was.
Yep.
Kind of similar. Again, fragments of it, but not. We don't hear any of this in full, like
Correct.
in continuity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So every time that we've heard this heroics brisk, he's picked up a few more instruments. So it's
Because
gotten
it's just
bigger every
woodwind
time.
at the start.
Yeah, and then it was
And now it's
brass,
so
and
much
now
bigger.
the strings have also joined in. Yeah.
Growing. And again, it arrives somewhere later on, unlike just being dropped in.
Yeah. Timpani. I'll skip a little bit. Some buzziness, some hits. Could try to recreate the scene based on the music. Strings, strings. Yes. Yeah.
It's just so good.
It's fun. It
And
is.
what we got in the film wasn't that.
Well, it was just not.
Not the same.
Yeah, that theme when it came in, it was like, oh, that's cool, but it doesn't strike as. You know what it sounds? It sounds like, oh, that's a theme, right?
Yeah.
It sounds
What's the
themey,
theme?
but it's not used that much yet.
Sounds themey.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
It sounds
will-
like it's being set up for something else that should be recalled later, rather than it's something that we've heard often throughout. That's like getting this big statement.
Yeah,
It's like not being built towards, just dropped in sense vaguely.
let's look at the census, the thematic census, to see how many times that is going to come up in this movie. Because I'm like,
Thank God Frank's done that work. That's
I know.
Trojan work.
I know. Okay, so that it comes up 7 times in the movie. So like
Oh, really?
it will come up again, but like in this track it's already come up 4 times and we've skipped some. So
Yeah.
just not as many times as like even the victory theme is going to come up 10 times. Some of the Sith. No, the friendship theme is going to come up some of the Sith is going to come up 16 times. March of the Resistance will come up 12 times. Rey's theme will come up 24 times. So this is kind of slightly more lightweight,
Yeah.
probably.
And it's almost, does he give it leitmotivic status, or does he give it incidental motif?
No, it is
How he
leitmotivic
uses it.
status because it does, I think, it's 7 times. And then the broad form will come up 3 times. But the thing is, the broad form's just not as recognizable. So it probably won't register quite as much. But I
But
mean,
it's a good little rhythmically cool and just neat little fragment of music that I feel like could have been exploited.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway.
Happy face. I sat down. Be positive at the start, didn't I? Try to stay positive.
Yeah. No.
Was I positive? I was kind of positive.
I don't think your degree of positivity. It doesn't matter. It's not really an issue. We're here to analyze what's going on, and I think we definitely did that.
That's fair.
Yeah, we had a very rich conversation. So thank you very much for having that with me and really bringing up some awesome points. One last point that I wanted to make, and you can make one last point after me, is I feel like John Williams was this type of cue, whether we're talking about the speed or chase, the like concert suite, the thing that didn't quite 100% make it in, or whether it's this modified version of cues spliced together. I feel like this falls more into John Williams's adventure action style more so than something else action, because it feels more like ground battle, and it doesn't necessarily mean technically on the ground, but like it feels more close to Indiana Jones than it feels close to actually, like, you can tell that this is not the music for the final battle of the film. This is more like earlier film battle music. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say, but
bit like the solo music, it kind of has that more. It's more like adventure, fun, high spirited, rather than this is the end of everything. This is how it's all going to go down, like drama, melodrama, chaos, everything.
100%. And I think that's why I was like, this reminds me a lot of Solo, of Han Solo, because it's more the adventure side of the action than the mortal battle side of the action. And so, it's more lighthearted action. Like, we know it's going to be okay. But this is like a little fun diversion. This is like a fun little...
it's episodic intersection in the drama rather than pivotal climax.
Totally. Is there anything that you didn't get to cover that you were thinking about?
I don't think so. I think I mentioned everything, skimming through my notes. Again, lots of 3PO smiley faces, because he says excellent job, sir, and I want to say excellent job, sir, to Anthony Daniels on his Oscar-winning performance as C-3PO in this movie. No, I don't have anything else to add. Sorry, that's me rambling. Just good job, Anthony.
Yeah, agreed. So the themes were from this set of minutes were March on board spacecraft, which not exactly, but something very similar. So I'm going to put it heroics, both the broad and the brisk. And thank you, Connor, for bringing up the fact that the broad was actually in here. Leia's theme and Rey's A theme. And then also we had hints of Kylo Ren's A theme hinted through Ostinato. And then there was like something that sounded like a cousin to March of the Resistance. So I'll list these all in there just for thoroughness. And then in the soundtrack, this is found nowhere on the soundtrack except for very tiny little pieces. So that should tell you something about it. And then
release the Williams cut.
Yeah. So before I let you go, I have to ask you the Star Wars Music Minute Questionnaire for the second time. Are you ready?
No, I forgot.
That's okay.
Oh, no, okay.
Some people don't even prepare. Some people just give their first instinct.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want me to tell you your answers, your previous answers first, or do you want me to let you say new answers? Okay. I'll let you say new answers. Okay.
Okay.
Question number 1. In exactly 3 words, what does Star Wars sound like?
Well, can I give an answer in the form of a quote from the scene?
If it's 3 words, yes.
Yeah, okay. So in terms of the series, excellent job, sir. In terms of maybe what's happening in the sequence, terrible job, sir. Not Williams, sound designer, sound mixer. That's not directed at Williams.
That's hilarious.
Excellent job, sir. And it's 3PO quote, so it's rounded, it's thematic. There we go. Excellent job, sir.
Oh my gosh.
That's a cop-out answer. I'm sorry. It's not proper, but...
That's really funny.
What did I say last time?
I'm gonna put both. I'm gonna put
something-
both of them as two separate answers, but whatever. They're related. That's actually really hilarious. Very excellent job, sir.
Excellent job, sir.
Yeah, that's good. Previously, you said vivid symphonic storytelling.
It's not the same.
So very different vibes. I like it. You have a big. You're showing your range.
Yeah, I don't have to be the same. I can be
No.
different. It's called evolution.
There you go. You're done writing your thesis. You can let go.
PhD candidate.
Yes. Number 2, what is something related to Star Wars music or sound that you want to learn more about? Or just that you're mildly curious about, whatever.
Maybe mentioned it earlier, like just the conversations between the score being recorded and the temp, like, or even the mixing, maybe because the mixing was so problem. What conversations does Williams have with the mixers and the editors? Yeah, I feel like that's broad enough, and also especially would prove interesting for the sequence.
Definitely.
Maybe conversations weren't had, but the fact that they weren't had might be equally revealing.
Yeah. Before you said that you were interested in interviews with orchestrators.
Oh, yeah. Equally applicable to this sequence, because if it was revised so much, how much of that revision did Williams do himself? How much of it was William Ross or whoever his orchestrator du jour was helping him out, who I know.
And how much was
Which
just used, how much was just edited? Like taken from the recorded stuff and just spliced together.
Yeah, so not Williams specific, but more sound editing, mixing, intersecting with music. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Okay, number 3. What is a score or soundtrack that you're fond of besides anything Star Wars?
I go back to it every now and then, and I've only seen the movie once. From the movie Minari? Did you see that movie?
I wanted to.
The composer is Emile Mosseri, Mosseri, I think. And it's really gorgeous music. Lots of solo piano, vocal stuff going on, strings, but really just this warm hug of a sound that's like really nice and wide open spacesy sounding. It's just very, very affecting. I kind of listen to that. It kind of always puts me in a good mood. It's nice and calming. It was once my alarm when I was waking up in the morning, and just got me awake in the morning really nicely. And then also it's Halloweeny, so I've been listening to lots of Williams' creepy music at the moment. So Dracula, that score for Dracula is amazing. And also The Fury, which isn't, I suppose it's not technically a horror movie, but it's like Williams doing his best Bernard Herrmann, and that's just really, really cool.
I need to see that. Yeah, The Fury.
The movie's okay, but the soundtrack's really, really good.
Okay, cool. One day I shall
answers.
embark on the quest to that. Nathan from, I forgot what is, to a Legacy of John Williams? No, sorry, that's a whole different thing. John Williams. Okay, there's a Nathan Fonten shout out. Runs this John Williams account on J Williams _fan.
On Twitter?
Yeah, on Twitter.
Probably follow that.
Yeah, and he lives in Australia, so since I go to Australia a lot, I've met him and we've hung out. And I don't know if he's finished, but he has been doing for years, like watching every John Williams movie, and some of them are quite hard to find, and so it seems like quite an undertaking. But it sounds like something good. Yeah, it's hard, right?
I think I've seen everything from Jaws onwards anyway. And then some of his 60s stuff is really, really hard to find.
Yeah.
And then some of it you don't want to seek out. I was at a conference in New York, Music in the Moving Image, which some of your other guests were at. Three guests.
Samantha Tripp?
Samantha
Frank
Tripp,
Lehman.
Lauren Crosby, Frank Lehman, loads of us were there.
Yeah.
And then Tom Schneller, who is a John Williams scholar, gave a presentation on Williams's score for an Italian language movie called Story of a Woman. And I really wanted to study and prepare for his talk by like watching the movie, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And judging by the standard of the movie that he referenced during the talk. The music was amazing, but he said the movie was pretty dire. So you kind of have to drudge through some terrible stuff.
Oh, of course, but that's part of it.
Some of the early stuff's good.
Yeah, that's part of that.
Yes.
It's part of it.
Actually, one that's on YouTube, I don't know if it was. It used to be Jane Eyre, really lovely score. Probably one of Williams' best like early scores, and that was for free on YouTube for a while. I would recommend Jane Eyre. It's beautiful English, Ralph Vaughan Williams pastoral English.
We love Ralph Vaughan Williams. Ralph Vaughan Williams fan club.
Yes.
You, me, Frank Lehman. Oh, there's so many of us. Okay, so I'm actually really curious to see more John Williams movies that suck, or where the movie sucks, and then I want to know what the score does for it, or if the score comes off differently because the movie sucks so much. So I actually would be specifically curious about that. But back to Mammy, which music in the moving image. Did you presented at it, right?
I did, yeah. This
and is
just gone.
The talk is online, right?
No, it was online during COVID, but they're back to in person. So I flew all the way over to New York, and my God, they're big rats in that place. My God, the size of them, they're huge. But the conference is pretty fun. I just remember walking off the subway and seeing these massive rats, and I was like, oh God.
New York listeners, feel free to comment.
That's where my brain went straight away. I had a lovely time. I had so
really
much
funny.
fun, but that's where my brain went straight away. I'm tired. It's like it's quarter to 9 here in Ireland, and I need a cup of tea.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, thank you for answering the questionnaire. And listeners, I will put links in the show notes to Conor's previous episode on this podcast for Empire Strikes Back, and then I'll also put a link to the Swashbucklers and Femme Fatales, Gender Coding in John Williams' Score to Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which was an article that Conor wrote.
Thank you.
And then you also have a Twitter, which will be in the show notes. Is there anywhere else online to direct people to?
I made a Blue Sky like 3 days ago, but there's no point giving that because I haven't even opened the app. I made an account, but I haven't even opened the app, so there's no point.
I'll just write, Twitter. Conor is tentatively on Blue Sky.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you
so much for having me.
It was so much fun talking to you. And congrats on being done writing. Good luck with your defense.
If you have me back, maybe I'll have a title in front of my name next time.
Ooh, this is true.
If I'm invited back, this might have. You might never want me back again after I thought you were going mad on stage.
I absolutely do. And listeners, you can find Star Wars Music Minute on or me, Chrysanthi Tan, on various social media platforms. Star Wars Music Minute isn't on all the platforms, on all the new platforms, I would say. So
too many.
Yeah. But also the most direct way to be in contact with me, especially during this strike where the podcast has been on hiatus. But if you're hearing this, then we're off hiatus. But the place where I have been communicating with people has been on my Discord server, which anyone can join by becoming a patron at any level. And if you are a former guest of the show and you want to join my Discord, just send me a message. But that's where I will talk about what research I'm doing and just... it's a different place to talk. That's not Twitter, where I will kind of ask for feedback and people can ask questions and I can be like, what does this remind me of? It's just, I can't figure it out. And people will help me out. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for listening. May the Force be with you, and talk to you next week on Star Wars Music Minute.